Good morning and peace, family. My name is Christina Victoria, and today, in this morning's video journal, I guess this is what I'm doing right now. What I wanted to talk about is the power of being yourself, okay? The power of being the fullest version of yourself. And this is really, as if you all been watching, I'm so grateful for those of you, my friends, who've been really following my video journals, my morning reflections, and these are really what's coming from my own meditations and my own heart, And so one of my friends the other day asked me, how is it that you're able to sit for 30 minutes and just talk at length? Like, that's such a skill. And I was like, it's actually really easy. And I wanted to explain to you guys how I do it. And the simplest answer is, I'm simply talking from the heart, y'all. I'm simply talking from the heart. And when you are simply yourself and the fullest version of yourself, I can't tell you how freeing it is and how easy it is you could talk about anything as long as you're coming from the heart. And I know that in this society, we're so used to like wearing a mask, and for example, we're so used to, how are you doing? And it's like, oh, I'm blessed, I'm well, thank you, you know what I mean? When like you might actually be hurting, or you might actually, that the real answer might not actually be that you're doing well. The real answer might be, I'm struggling right now. The real answer might be, I'm having a question with my faith right now. The real answer might be, I was just in a car accident, I'm kind of rattled right now, right? But we're so used to wearing this mask, and like, we're so used to like lying a little bit, like just a little tiny lies all the time, right? Little tiny lies all the time, that we forget what it means to be authentic and truthful. And so these are, again, coming out of my own increasing freedom and my own realizations and epiphanies, and realizing that you are enough, family. You are enough. Like you have the right to exist as you are. You have the right to exist as you are. And so before I get too deep into this, as always, I love you guys, wishing you abundant life, love, joy, peace, and prosperity, family. But not only to you, to your loved ones, to your communities, and even to your stinky butt enemies who want to cause you problems and all of that. We wish blessings on everybody, okay? So like I said, I wanted to talk out like how it is that I'm able to really talk at length. And what my friend was really like, you can just sit and talk about anything. Like, how are you doing this? Do you have notes? And I do keep notes. So I'll show you my notepad. This is my iPad. And so I wrote about 10 lines of notes. Y'all can see it. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe you just see the smudge marks on my iPad. So the notes, all the notes is what I wrote, okay? It says, mask off, the power of being yourself. Taking off the mask, becoming authentic. Brent asked why I'm able to speak at length. Simply speaking my truth. If someone asked you a story, it would be easy to talk about it. We become so used to wearing a mask that lies become second nature. Lies become easier than the truth, freedom and truth. And that's just the whole notes. And that's kind of, sometimes I use less than that, Sometimes I'll pull scriptures and I'll like keep it on my iPad so that I can use it. But for the most part, family, like I'm really writing down things that cross my mind, things that I'm having conversation, like real conversation about with friends and my mom, and reflecting on that. And so I just wanted to talk about this experience that I'm going through as I'm even doing these videos of coming to an authentic place, okay? Coming to my own authenticity, my own truth, feeling freedom, increasing freedom to speak my truth, and just to encourage you all, you don't have to start a YouTube channel if you don't want to, but, even the exercise of saying your true feelings out loud, okay? Just saying your true feelings out loud. You can record yourself, and never post it. But I can't tell you how empowering it is to simply speak out loud the things that you're thinking about and the things that are on your heart. And here's why, okay? Kind of what I was saying with like, how we greet each other and we're kind of, in social situations, right? We're expected to have this superficial conversation, right? Like let's say you really are going through something at home or someone died in your family, right? You might have a couple people at work who you can kind of talk to on a very, I wouldn't talk very deeply, right, with people at work, right? And so it's like, we've been conditioned to kind of put on this false smile and like no matter what happens to play happy, right? No matter what happens, literally no matter what happens. And like it's very fake and phony. A lot of people, and I get why, you know, professionally you have to kind of, you know, you can't cuss people out when you're trying to make money and that's your profession, right? But like I'm talking about this mask that all of us have been encouraged to put on, this like smile that all of us have been encouraged to put on, and this artificial, I would say orthodoxy, okay? Artificial orthodoxy, where it's like there are certain things that are acceptable to say and there are certain things that like, oh, we're not really supposed to talk about that, right? We're not really supposed to talk about that. So like if you think about certain topics, and I'm just going to be really honest from my heart, right? If you think about certain topics like, you know, it's hard because it's like I'm really trying to be authentic and then you have that moment of thinking, what are people going to think about this? But like, you know, here's a really good example, okay? I heard last year they started saying, you know, trans women are women, okay? Now, regardless of how you actually feel about that, okay? Whether you really agree with that or you don't, it's like that's just an example of the narratives that are kind of put into the society that you're supposed to kind of buy into, okay? And you're supposed to kind of rattle off certain, and there's a whole host of them. I'm sure you could think of a whole host of them, right? Where we're told through the media or we're told through social organizations and things like that, you know, this is the party line. This is what we're supposed to say about this. You know, it could even be in terms of religion, you know, the Christian church, for example. I was talking to my mom about this. She's a pastor, right? We talk about all these things. And the Christian church, for example, you know, there's a huge difference to me between the teachings of Jesus Christ and the institutional church itself, okay? There's a huge difference, okay? Because it was hundreds of years after Jesus died and was resurrected before the Christian church started to create a canon, right? These are the books that we're going to accept formally, and then these are the books that we're not, right? But for hundreds of years, you know, the Ethiopian church and the church at Ephesus and the church at Rome, right? They would have kind of slightly different texts that they would use and draw upon. And it wasn't until hundreds of years after Christ that, you know, a couple of groups, you know, this was over time, right? Started to say, let's formalize our faith. Let's formalize our faith. Let's make doctrines and, you know, sayings, you know, like the Apostles' Creed and the Nicene Creed and like all these things. Let's make a canon. So let's decide, you know, which books we think should be in the Bible and which books should not, which is why you have the formal Bible, and then you have the apocryphal books, you have the lost books of the Bible, like some of them are lost, right? But some of them were just not included. And then when you sit and read these books, you kind of see why, right? Because a lot of them are kind of mystical, or they'll say really interesting things about Jesus that, you know, orthodoxy has not adopted. But like, you know, and again, I get that some of this is controversial, but like I'm really trying to show you guys that the true exercise of speaking your truth and of exploring your true thoughts, and why I can just talk at length, is because when you take that filter off, okay, most of us are talking through a filter, you know what I'm saying? We're talking through the filter of, okay, society says I'm only supposed to say these things. Society says that, you know, Christian orthodoxy says this and this and this, okay? But like, and so we learn to talk through certain filters where, you know, I might have a true feeling, but I'm going to not really say exactly my true feeling because I'm trying to sound orthodox. I want the Christians to think that I'm a true Christian, right? So I'm only going to confess things that are part of orthodoxy. You know what I mean? And it makes it difficult for us to be authentic, I think, sometimes, and to really speak our truth, because our truth may not be what society is telling us to say. Our truth may not be total orthodoxy, right? And so then we end up saying these little tiny lies all the time, little tiny lies. We end up, and it may not be a lie might be a strong word for it, but we end up saying things with our mouth that our heart doesn't totally believe in, okay? And so the reason why a lot of times we can't talk, like some people, for example, sorry family, my iPhone got so hot that it shut off. So I had to move into the shade. So maybe it's a sign from the Lord to just rest in the shade. So what I was saying is, you see some politicians who can only speak on a script, right? And the reason for that is because they're trying to make sure they only say the right things, okay? Because if they were to speak from the heart, they might accidentally say the wrong thing. Like we saw this a few months ago when Biden did the State of the Union address, okay? And he was talking about the newcomers, like the migrants, okay? And he said something to the effect of, I don't know if he called them illegal immigrants or something like that, but he had to go later on and do a meeting, like a interview with somebody to correct himself, because for a moment he spoke just from his heart, right? He spoke, so you know what I mean? He spoke a little too authentically, and that's not what he's supposed to say, right? The term is not supposed to be illegal immigrants. The term that they're using now is migrants or newcomers, right? And so this is what I mean in terms of people not speaking their truth. They're speaking a lot of times, especially people that we watch on TV, like news anchors, all of these people are on a script, okay? Like, most of them, for the most part, are on some level of a script that's like, these are the things you're supposed to say. Don't speak your truth. Don't speak your truth. Speak the truth, or speak the things that you're supposed to say, right? And so because they say certain phrases, right? So he uses the word migrants. So now everyone's supposed to kind of fall in line and start using the phrase migrants, even if they have immigrated illegally. We have to call them migrants, okay? And this is exactly what I'm talking about, where it's like, so then if you choose to keep saying illegal immigrants, now, the verbal police is going to come for you and be like, no, Christina, you're not supposed to say that. Remember, the term is now this. And this is how we start to compromise our truth, right? I'm not saying that we shouldn't be politically correct, that we should definitely respect everybody and, engage socially with people especially people that we don't know, in the most respectful way possible, of course, But I'm talking about, when someone asks me, how is it that you're able to sit at length and just talk? It's because I'm coming from the heart, and you see, even I struggle a little bit, because some of these things can be so controversial, and people get so upset when you begin to speak your truth, because if your truth is not their truth, or if your truth is not what's socially acceptable, then I totally get why a lot of people stay on a script or have heavily edited videos. If you look at my old videos, most of them were heavily edited, okay? Because I was responding to a lot of political stuff. I was responding to a lot of current events and things like that. And I was editing, like chopping them up. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and so, don't say that part. I'll just, and so then I would have these heavily edited videos that would be cool, right? But it's different when, if you watch my most recent videos, there's almost no edits. Like, I'll cut off the very beginning where I'm playing with the camera. I'll cut off the very end where I'm turning off the camera. And in the whole rest of the video, if you really watch them, is just stream of consciousness, unedited completely. And as I said, the reason I'm able to do that is because I'm increasingly, this is not something I'm saying I'm the best at, but I'm increasingly accepting that I am enough, that I am allowed to exist, okay? I am allowed to exist as I am. And, yes, I am every day making changes for the better. Yes, there are certain things that I want to be different in the future, And I think all of us have work to do. All of us are on some type of a journey, But I think there really is a place to really acknowledge that I am allowed to exist as I am. I'm allowed to have opinions that don't totally go along with the mainstream. I'm allowed to think for myself. I'm allowed to hear what I'm being told to think, and also think through it for myself. As are you, as are you. All of us are entitled to be ourselves. You are entitled to be yourself. And if you need permission, like I don't have the authority to give you permission, but I'm saying if you need someone to tell you that you have permission to be yourself, I'm gonna be the one, okay? you have permission to be yourself. You have permission to make a video about your true thoughts and true feelings, even if it's not orthodoxy, okay? You have the authority within yourself because you are the only one who can speak on the experiences that you've had, the places you've been, you know, the things you've learned and read. You're the only person who can do that. And so you have the complete right, and especially if you're in the United States of America, the complete freedom to speak your truth, whatever that is, you know, even if your truth is the opposite of my truth, that's fine. That's totally fine. Even if your truth doesn't line up with Christian orthodoxy or Islamic orthodoxy or Jewish orthodoxy, that's okay, because we have a mind to think. If you actually look in the Bible, you know, there are so many parts of the Bible where people ask God questions. God, why is this happening to me? God, how am I supposed to understand this, right? So like, God has given us the ability to ask questions. God has given us that ability, you know? And so it's strange when society and like political organizations and, you know, different things want to try to convince you that you're not supposed to think for yourself. Like, don't think for yourself, just fall in line with what you're telling you. Don't ask questions. Don't think too deep about it. Like, that to me is a huge red flag, okay? When anyone's saying, don't think too deep about this, just trust me blindly. That to me is a huge red flag. And that could be in the church, that could be a politician, that could be anything. You know, everything that we hear, we should be measuring against our heart and measuring against what we understand God is telling us to do. Now, I accept that what God is telling me to do and what God tells you to do, or what you perceive God is telling you to do, they might be different things, okay? They might be different things. And I've had to try to understand that. How is it that both of us can be Christians and both of us can feel like we talk to God and that God talks to us, and yet we can come to different conclusions? You know, I haven't come to total understanding of that. The best way I can make sense of it is that, you know, perhaps we have different filters. Like, you know, if you're a child, you might have a different filter than when you're an adult. You know, I don't have total understanding of that. But I do believe that we have the freedom and the right to explore our own feelings, explore our own thoughts. And that's okay. That's totally okay, you know? And that you have the right to just be who you are, you know? Are you working on changing and growing and evolving? Of course. But you still have the right to exist as you are. You don't have to wait until you're better to make a video about something. You don't have to wait until you're perfect to make a YouTube channel. You don't have to wait until you 100% believe Christian orthodoxy to start talking about your faith. You feel me? And I even saw a comment, shout out to one of my new subscribers who had commented, like, I think in free ways like this, but I've been afraid to make a YouTube video because I'm afraid that people will judge me, or that people will think that I'm bad or wrong for thinking through these things. Like, I encourage you to go for it, you know? There are a ton of videos, y'all, that I've recorded that I've never posted, okay? Sometimes it can be cathartic to just talk something out. Do you know what I'm saying? It can be cathartic to just, and that's what I'm saying, speak your truth. Because if you've been spending most of your time at work and with people that are real strangers to you, right? And you spend 90% of your day faking the funk and being phony, okay? If you're a politician or a pastor and you spend 90% of your time, oh, I'm blessed, oh, I'm this, and you don't really feel like you have anyone to speak your truth with, like, that can start to hurt your spirit. And it can actually, I think, cause mental illness, to be honest, because the longer that I do this exercise of just speaking my truth, you know, saying, you know, today this is what's on my heart and mind, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to find some scriptures. I'm going to talk to God about it and talk about it. You know, I'm feeling my mind is increasingly clear. My heart is increasingly clear, because a lot of times we're holding all of this stuff in. We're holding it in, and it can drive you crazy, straight up. It will drive you crazy when you're spending all of your life with a mask on, okay? And the smiling mask, this fake joy, right? And eventually you've been smiling so much that it kind of looks like this. You hear it? It kind of looks like this. Because you've been smiling so much, your cheeks are starting to hurt, but because it's that fake smile, right? It's that fake joy, it's that fake happiness. You know, there's a point where that will literally drive you nuts. And And this is where I think people will really lash out and like have a lot of weird things will happen when people have been living a lie for a long time, or have been, like, I've seen it too many times. I've literally seen people go off the rails because they've been living a lie. They've been smiling. Oh, I'm fine. When they're like dying inside. They're like dying, you know? They're like losing their mind. You know, I have literally known Christians, people who are in ministry, who after years, I used to formally be in ministry, okay? I used to formally went to seminary, used to formally preach, and I stopped doing that for a number of reasons that will probably be in a future video. But after that, right, I've been on this journey for a number of years of spiritual exploration, and I'm just now starting to be confident enough to talk about it because of these fears and these questions of like, are people going to judge me when they learn that I read this book? Are people going to judge me or hate me because I've been exploring Buddhism, because I've been meditating? You know what I'm saying? There's a point where you have to just speak your truth. These are the things I've been learning and exploring. And these are the things that have made me who I am and made me think a certain way. You know, I'm still a Christian, but, you know, I feel like in order to get to this level of faith, I actually had to explore other things, you know? And so over the years, there have been many of my friends who are pastors and in ministry reach out to me and start asking me questions because they have never given themselves permission to ask questions. They've just been told, accept orthodoxy as it is, accept these things as it is. Don't ask questions, don't ask too deep about it, because that means that you're having a question about your faith. And sometimes actually having faith means that you have to think deeply about these things, you know, think deeply about these things. And it's totally, it doesn't violate your faith. It can actually strengthen your faith to go to someplace else and then come back, you know? It actually can. And I'm telling you from experience, this is just what I've done, you know? And like I said, I used to have fear for a while about really speaking my truth because, oh, these people are gonna think that I'm a blasphemer. They're gonna think that I'm a whatever, you know? My faith is so strong right now. My relationship with God is so strong. And it's really because I have been coming to an increasingly authentic place. I'm not saying that I'm 100% there, right? There's still areas where I'm obviously working through, which is why I make these videos every day, you know what I mean? And why I'm investigating my Bible every day, and why I'm praying every day, and why I'm even reading other books and things so that I can have understanding. But you know, there really is so much freedom and so much peace and joy, and I mean real joy, right? Like for example, in just being yourself, okay? Like how many times, if you're a woman, okay, how many times you'll be walking, right? I like to go on walks sometimes, or you'll just be out and about, right? And I'll be in a genuinely happy mood, okay? But I'm not smiling. Like, do you walk around the grocery store like this the whole time? No, right? That's bizarre. That's actually strange, okay? That would be strange if you walked around like this all the time. All the time? Okay? So, how many times, if you're a woman, or if you're a man, I know you've heard this, right? Oh, why are you upset? Smile, right? Okay, smiling has nothing to do with being happy, okay? Smiling has nothing to do with being at peace or at joy. Yes, obviously you see me smiling at times, but I could be in a total state of peace and joy, and I'm not smiling, right? Like if I'm at the grocery store and I'm genuinely happy. I'm happy with my life. I'm satisfied with my life. You know, there's nothing that I really feel like I really need. I'm begging God for, right? I'm content. And I'm looking at apples, right? And some man's gonna come up to me and be like, smile. Why aren't you happy? It's like, I'm actually very happy. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to be smiling outwardly for me to be happy in my heart. And like I said, I feel like we have this fakeness in society where it's like we're supposed to be smiling for other people, right? That I'm supposed to put on a smile on my face all the time so that other people will think that I'm happy when I'm already happy, right? I'm happy without a smile. And it's like, again, I don't have the authority to give you permission to do anything in your life. I wish that you would be free to do what is on your heart to do, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, you know? But if you need to hear it from somebody else's mouth, I'm telling you, like, you know, it's okay to just exist as you are, okay? Society and people, for whatever reason, feel the need to You know, I'm just looking straight forward, and all these people want to look at me and try to make me be a certain way. Like, if everyone would just do them, we would be so much happier. You feel me? Like, if everyone would just do them. And it's like a lot of people are so obsessed with trying to make people think like them, or they're so obsessed with trying to convince people to believe in the things that they believe in. That's why I say in my videos, like, if you really watch my videos, I'm telling y'all, like, I'm not trying to make you think like me. I'm just thinking my thoughts out loud freely. And if it resonates for you, it resonates. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Because my ego is not contingent on you agreeing with me. My happiness and my joy and my self-worth is just within itself. It's not contingent on whether you agree with me or not. And I think we need to get to this place of accepting that I am acceptable, I am okay as I am. Am I still making changes for the better? Of course. But I don't have to wait until I'm perfect to make a YouTube video. I don't have to wait until I'm perfect to start a business. I don't have to wait until I'm perfect to X or Y, right? And as long as you're waiting until you're perfect, you're going to be waiting forever. You're going to be stagnant, and you're never going to do anything, because you're never going to be perfect, and you're never going to please 100% of people. It's not possible. It's not possible. Okay, it's not possible. Like, even Jesus, okay, Jesus, who's to me one of the best, you know, the best teacher, okay, but one of the most famous people ever, right? One of the most transformational people ever, regardless of whether you think he's God or not. Okay, Jesus, only of all the 8 billion people in this world right now, about 4 billion are Christian. Okay, so like, there's still 50% of the population that doesn't follow even Jesus. So I mean, you think that you're gonna get 100% of people supporting you and agreeing with you? No, it's never gonna happen, right? It's never gonna happen. Even Jesus doesn't have 100% support. Even God doesn't have 100% belief, okay? So, like, if God doesn't have 100% of people believing in him, you think you're gonna have 100% of people agreeing with you? No, right? So as long as you're sitting around, you know, contorting yourself and trying to make yourself fit what you think that everyone's gonna like, you're never gonna be really true to yourself. You're gonna drive yourself nuts, and you're gonna be stressed out all the time, you know? I can't tell you how much it's like every single day I'm able to relax more into myself, into my own skin. It's like every day I'm like, oh, I'm acceptable, I'm okay. I remember I asked my mom, I had made one of these videos, and I was like, am I bad? I literally said that to her. I was like, am I okay? Am I bad? She's like, you're not bad, you're wonderful, you're perfect, you're speaking your truth. You are allowed to speak your truth and be yourself. And if you have a criticism of the government, if you have a criticism of the way the church is going, you know, I think more people need to speak truth to power and ask questions of those in power and leadership. I think that's fair to do, you know. If you think about Jesus, you know, Jesus was a revolutionary. He spent all of his time speaking truth to power. Jesus wasn't in the church. Jesus didn't have Jesus wasn't a pastor. Jesus didn't have a church, you know? The only time you heard Jesus even talk about the church, or the synagogue at that time, right? Because they weren't Christians, they were Jews. But the only time Jesus even talked about the synagogue and even talked about religious people was to talk about how hypocrites they were. The only time you ever even see Jesus, you see Jesus in the temple as a little kid, okay? As a little kid, knowing more as a little kid about the Torah than even the people who had studied for years and years and years in the synagogue, okay? Even the rabbis. He knew, he was confounding the rabbis as a small child, okay? Had never taken a class on it, okay? And the only other time you see him even dealing with the temple, dealing with the synagogue, was when he was flipping tables, okay? This is our Jesus. Jesus was a revolutionary. He spoke truth to power. He was asking, you know, I know we've been doing this for thousands of years. I know this is what orthodoxy says, but is this really the right way? That's what Jesus did. Do you know what I'm saying? So think about how upside down the world is right now, that people want to tell you to not question authority. Jesus questions authority all the time. That's why he's one of the most famous teachers ever, if not the most famous teacher ever. People call him God, okay? And all he did was question authority and question the way people traditionally interpret things, and asking these questions of, I know we have done this way, but is this really what God is asking us to do? Is this really what God is asking us to do? Or is this just how we formalize things because it's convenient or because it's a method of control or whatever. And again, I'm not, again, telling y'all the answers, trying to make y'all think about me. I have given myself the freedom, and I feel that God has given me the freedom to just be myself and to just say the things that are in my head and on my heart and that I'm thinking about and thinking through and working through and having real conversation about with real people. And I wish that you would feel empowered to do the same. I wish that you would feel empowered to be yourself, to take that mask off. And if it's not a smile under there, that's fine. You don't have to be smiling 100% of the time. Anyone who's sitting around smiling all the time, that's weird. That's weird and that's fake and that's phony, okay? And, you know, yeah, I just wish that you would be yourself. And the title of this was really The Power of Being Yourself. It is so powerful to simply speak your truth and be yourself in a world where so many people are afraid. They're afraid, and I'm not sure exactly where that fear comes from, but they're afraid of losing something or of being judged or whatever because of all this social pressure to conform. And, you know, God has made us free beings. You know, God has made us free beings. Being made as a human is a powerful position to be in. And walk in the authority that God has given you to exist, okay? Walk in the authority that God has given you to just be truthful to who you are, truthful to your heart, you know? And even if you disagree with them, you know, anyone who's telling you that you're not allowed to speak your truth or to think for yourself, I feel like it's really not coming from a spirit of God, you know, because God gives us total free will. God may give us information to make good decisions that benefit us, that help us, but God isn't forcing us. God isn't saying, God gave us these wide, amazing minds. God gave us creativity to make anything with our hands. I could sit around and I can sew things, I can cook things, I can sculpt things, you know what I'm saying? God gave us all this creativity, and you're gonna let people tell you to not use that creativity and that freedom that God gave you? No, use it. Be yourself, express yourself as you are. And so again, I don't have the authority to give it to you, but if you need to hear it from a human voice, here it is, you know? As always, I love you guys. These are all coming from my own meditations and reflections and things that God is reminding me that I have the right to exist. I have the right to speak my truth. I have the right to ask questions. And it is okay. And even if you come to a different conclusion from me, it's okay, because we all have the right to exist. We all have the right to exist, even with our differences. We don't have to be the same. We don't have to be the same. We should be able to coexist with our differences and to express different thoughts and to have meaningful dialogue and conversation without hating each other and without trying to squash certain ideas or trying to shut people up. We should be able to coexist in this way. And so that's really why I have this channel, is to explore free thought, you know, to explore my own thoughts and beliefs, and to ask myself questions. Are these things that I've believed for so long actually true? You know, and it feels really, really good. It feels really, really good. And I hope that you would feel that same level of freedom I am having increasingly every day. And so with that, I love you guys. I wish that you would have a beautiful and miraculous day. And with that, I will see you on the next one. Peace.